Welcome back to my channel, Cloud Master. So, since we have already installed Terraform on our system and we have already gone through the concepts of Terraform, now we will see how to create a resource using Terraform. This series, for most of the videos, what I will be following is I will create the resources first manually on Azure portal, and then we will create same set of resources using Terraform. So we know what's the difference between these two and how exactly we are doing on Azure portal and how we are doing it using Terraform. This set of videos is meant to teach you how to use Terraform platform. Obviously, I will also show you to create resources. So the structure which I'm going to follow for most of my videos is you can clearly understand the process, how to use Terraform. And as far as creating an Azure account is concerned, I have already created a video for the same. You can go to my channel and see that video, how to create an Azure account. Azure gives you around somewhere around 15,000 rupees uh, to use for to create resources and testing the services and all that. And you will have 30 days to use it. Right? There are some free services which are always free, but these $200, around $200, you will have for 30 days. You can create resources and you can use it. So first step I'm going to do is to deploy a resource group. And again, uh, uh, what is the resource group and subscription and all that? So again, you can go and watch my other videos regarding creating resources and what are the resources group and other resources. You will understand that. And I will also give you a brief idea what are these things. So in Azure, when we create any resource, whether it is a VM, subnet, virtual network, anything, we need to put them in a resource group. Resource group is like a bucket. So we need to put all the resources in a bucket, right? So it's a container. You can call it a container, which is containing all these resources. So that's the resource group here. So this is the purpose of creating a resource group, so we can contain all the relevant resources in that resource group. Let me show you how to create a resource group over here. You can type resource group. See, in the search box on the very top, and you see under services, you have resource groups. You can just click on it and it will give you a wizard to create the resource group. Alternatively, you can also come here, click on all services. It's loading. And under all services, you will see resource groups. Here it is. You see, this is the resource group. So whether you search in the search box or you come this way and click on it, both the option will take you to the same page. Let's click on it. So since this is the first time we are coming here, it is giving us, guiding us what are options we have and how to use them. Now we are on the resource group page. So if you have created any resource earlier, you can resource group earlier, you can see all those resource groups here. If not, like us, this is a fresh start for us. we you will see nothing on this page, and you will see a blue button in the middle of the page, create a resource group. Let's click on it. So it shows you the subscription. This is the free trial and production environment. Actually, you will say the name of the subscription. It will not be a free trial. So let's create a resource group. Let's say it is app grp. Okay, now it is asking you to choose a region where exactly you want to create this resource. Let's take click on it. All available regions it is showing you. So let's say North Europe. Okay, let's click on next. Now you can here apply some tags here, like for example I can show you. uh, for example, you can say environment. It is test. Okay, that's what we use it for, but in our case we are not going to use it. It's not required for us. Click next, and now it is validating all the settings which we have done earlier. So you see it green and it says validation passed. It means all the settings which you chose earlier are correct, and it's ready to create the resource. In case if there was any mistake, it and so it will not show you green. It will be in the red, and it will also highlight under which column it has found the mistake. You just go there with, let's say, and you will see a red mark on top of that column. So just click on that, go to that page and just correct it. Come again, review plus create, like the one you just saw, right? Come back and hit create. It will go green, and hit on create. Now it will take maybe few seconds. There's nothing much, or so shouldn't take long. Okay, now here we have this resource app grp, right? This is the one which we have created. Now, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and using Terraform, we need to create this resource group. So what we can do here is let's delete this resource group so we can create it using Terraform. Let's click on delete resource group, and it will ask you to enter the resource group name. So just it's again security check just to ensure you are not deleting it by mistake when you type the name. So I mean, if you are doing it by mistake when you type the name, so it you know what resource group you are going to delete. So app grp. Now click delete. Now its delete button is highlighted in the red. Let's click on it. Again, a confirmation it is asking for. Click on delete again. It's deleting the resource group. When you click on this bell icon, it will show you the live status. What is it doing? Sometimes it may take maybe a few minutes, but in our case, it's just an empty resource group. It shouldn't take very long. If I go back and refresh the resource group page, let's see. It is still here. Yeah. So it's still deleting. Until unless it is deleted completely, we cannot create a new resource group using Terraform because it will throw us an error. The resource group with this name already exists. Okay, deleted resource group app grp. Yeah, it's gone from here as well. You see, let's refresh. Perfect, it's gone. Now we will create a new resource group using Terraform. So now, how do we start actually building our Terraform configuration file? So Terraform configuration file is going to be a list of statements, and this list of statements will be supplied onto the Terraform executable file. The the Terraform executable will actually take these statements and then issue calls against Azure uh, and deploy resources depending upon the statements that are actually mentioned in your configuration file. So the first thing that we need to do is to go on to the Terraform documentation, and this is what I normally do when I want to see the statements that we need to use to work with a particular service on Azure. I will always refer on to the Terraform documentation. So I said Terraform can be used to work with a variety of cloud platforms. So they have different providers here. I am on the page for an Azure provider, right? You see on the Azure on the top Azure provider, and on the left hand side, we will see the documentation when it comes on to the statements that you can put in your Terraform configuration file. This is in the Terraform language to work with the various services on the Azure platform. Similarly, if you want to work with Amazon Web Services, they will be having again another provider, and you can go on to the documentation page for the Amazon Web Services provider. Okay, so if you go on to the left hand side, so for example, if you want to work with API management, you want to, and if you want to deploy resources based on API management, you can go on to the relevant documentation. So if I go there, left hand side, when I say mm, 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 let me show you as well. Where is my cursor? Yes, okay. See, so when I can search here as well. This is the search box. So when I type API management, it shows like if I click on Azure API management, the first one. Right. So if I go down, you see, they have already, given the script, and they have also explained it very well. Mm. And it's an example how to use it, and that you can actually issue to deploy an Azure API management resource. Then they will tell you the reference in terms of the arguments that you need to have in place, and a whole lot of explanation on the different arguments itself. So if I go down, you will see these are the augmented references, which I just talked about. Right. So I always refer onto the Terraform documentation when you want to look at the statements that need to be in your Terraform configuration file. You just need to we have to go on to the provider, and next is the version. This is also very important. So let me go back. Mm, Azure Resource Manager. So current version which is there 3.6, 3.62.1. So these were versions are different obviously for each provider. So this is the version list when it comes onto the Azure provider. Now there could be minor changes between each version. There could be major changes between each version as well. So for example, if I just search for compute, let me go there. What's Where's my mouse again? Cursor. Yes. So if I just search compute, right? So we have 54 matching results, and if I go down, so what I want to show you is we have Azure RM virtual machine, and we have Azure RM Windows virtual machine and Azure RM Windows virtual machine skill set, and Linux machine should also be there. Uh, Virtual machine. Where is the Linux one? Yes, here it is. Azure RM Linux virtual machine. So what I want to show is this was used to actually build a virtual machine on the Azure platform, Azure virtual machine I'm talking about. But now this has been superseded by different other resources commands. So now there is a separate resource command for the deployment of a Linux virtual machine and the deployment of a Windows virtual machine. So here it is clearly mentioned. Let me show you. What I want to show you is Azure virtual machine, where it is. Yes. Right. So see, it's mentioned the Azure virtual machine resource has been superseded by the Azure RM Linux virtual machine and Azure RM Windows virtual machine resources. And it will continue to be available in the prior release. The resource will continue to be available throughout the 3.x releases, right? But now, no more new functionality is going to be added for this Azure RM virtual machine. So this is very important to also understand the version you are working with. So see what happens is that on the uh, Azure platform also they make so many changes. There can be new features added for a particular Azure service. There could be a new Azure service that is deployed. So Terraform has to ensure that they have their updates as well in place. These updates need to be synced with the updates on the Azure platform. So obviously, versions need to be in place even when it comes onto the commands for Terraform. Right. Now, so we have got that in place now. When it comes on to the definition of our first configuration file, the first important step is authentication. Now, here on the, let me go to the Azure portal. So here on the Azure platform, I am logged in as uh, my Azure administrator account. So this I am the administrator for this account. This account obviously has complete privileges to create any resource on the Azure platform. So, but now if you want to create resources from Terraform, so you need to give Terraform the right credentials to actually work with your account. Now, ideally, I will not give my admin account details or embed it somewhere to tell Terraform to start creating resources on the Azure platform. That will not be the right approach. So, as part of my Azure account, I have to create a separate set of credentials that Terraform can use in order to authenticate to create the resources on the Azure platform. See, security is very important. It should not be the case that I create a configuration file or somewhere someone creates a configuration file, and if they issue it against my Azure account, they can create whatever they want. Now, the first step is authentication. They need to first authenticate onto my Azure account, right? And they should have the ability to start creating resources on the Azure platform. So what we are going to do is we are going to create something known as an application object in Azure Active Directory. I will show you how to do it. Now, when you first create your Azure Active Directory account, you get a subscription. This subscription is actually used for the billing purpose. So when you create a resource on the Azure platform, it gets billed against your subscription. Let me show you what the subscription is. So if I type subscription here, see, this is the subscription name is free trial. So in production environment and live environment, it will not be free trial. You can give it a name. So you will see some name here, but uh, you will receive bill against your subscription, right? So how the hierarchy works in Azure. So on the very top, so let me show you that as well. Or maybe let's go to tenant, B2C tenants. Do not have any tenants here. So, so how hierarchy works in Azure, on the very top, we have tenants, and under tenant, we have subscriptions. So there could be multiple subscriptions, right? Tenant is one, which is hotmail.com here. This is the default directory. But under this, I can create multiple subscriptions. right? So right now we have just one subscription free trial. I can create more if I want, but that's not required here. So I will not be doing it. It's just to, explain you how it works. So remember, you get the $200 worth of free credit. So if there's any bill, it will be taken against that credit of the same time. At the same time, you also get the free edition of the Azure Active Directory. Now, Azure Active Directory is your identity provider. So let's go to Azure Active Directory. Let me show you that as well. Active Directory. Okay, let's go there. Here it is. So you will see users listed over here in Azure Active Directory. So it's just me right now, but if you have any other user, all those users you will see here. So it's your identity provider. So here you can define users, groups, and applications. See, normally in an organization, you have different users. And in order to ensure that users can actually authenticate onto your Azure account, you will create your user identities in Azure Active Directory. Then the user can use the username and password. They can log into your Azure account, get access onto resources that are in your Azure subscription. After they have authenticated onto Azure Active Directory, so we are they can use the resources, but now we are not going to be creating a user, we are going to be creating an application object. So somewhat similar to creating a user, it's basically another form of an identity. So in Azure ID, and the details of this identity can then be embedded in our Terraform configuration file. So this Terraform configuration file, remember, is going to be running on our local machine on your laptop basically, and it's you are going to submit the file onto the Terraform executable, which was down in our which we downloaded in one of our earlier chapters. Terraform will then use the application object credentials to authenticate onto Azure Active Directory. And once the authentication is complete, it will then take the commands in the Terraform configuration file and it will then issue API calls. So that's application program interface calls to create resources as part of your Azure subscription. So the first step we are going to perform is to create an application object, and then we will proceed further. Let's go to app registrations and click on new registration. And let's give it a name. Let's say Terraform, and register this app. Now, and this app has been created. Let's go back to the Terraform documentation page. Here it is. Now click on it. How to use the provider. So we need to embed this code in our Terraform configuration file. This is the starting point for using the manager provider by Terraform. So I will copy this in my main file. Now I'm copying this in my main file. Here it is. It's my Terraform configuration file. So this is the first block. Will actually tell our Terraform provider. So the first block is telling Terraform that we need to have the Azure RM provider in place because we want to work with the resource on the Azure platform. Okay. So here we have to give what are the configuration options. So and there we have to give the uh, these are the, let me highlight it. This is the configuration options we need to provide. So we need to give the credentials for authentication. This will actually allow Terraform to execute the commands in the configuration file against our Azure account. So now what I have done is I have pasted in what are the, you know, this configurations options, and now you need to embed in this provider. First is the ID of your subscription, then you have the client ID, subscription ID, client ID, then client secret, followed by tenant ID. So these four things we need for the authentication to work smoothly. So let me go back to Azure portal. This is not Azure portal. Here it is. So I can take, this is the application ID. Can take from here. Let's go back. We need subscription ID. Okay. Let's take tenant ID. This is also we need. Tenant ID is this. It's here. Client ID, client secret. So this is the application ID is the client ID. Now let's go to client secret. Certificates and secrets. We need to create a secret. New client secret. First one recommended for, let's say, 90 days. I will delete it after completing this video. So if anyone tries to use this secret, will not be able to use it. So just make sure you take this secret right after creating this, producing these client secrets. Once you move away from this page, this secret, you will never be able to see it again. So just take the secret, make a note of it, just to make sure you have this value. Let's see if it is okay. Yeah, now it's gone. See, so that's how you get it. But it goes right away the moment you move away from that page. Go, so make sure you have this secret before it goes away. We have the required credentials for the authentication. So there are much more secure ways in which you can actually execute Terraform. You can execute configuration files from other services as well, but this is just giving you a way in which you can actually authenticate this configuration file or tell Terraform how to authenticate onto your Azure account. And please don't use the same details that, as I said before, so do not use the same details what I have used. It's not going to work. Create your own app and then use those details over here. Now, once you have now embedded the details, one thing that we need to do now for our application object is to ensure that we give permissions onto the object onto our subscription so that it can create resources as part of our subscription. And we do this via use of role-based access control, which we also call RBAC control in Azure. So we are going to give a role of the contributor role onto our subscription. So if you go onto your subscription, let's go there. This is our subscription. Click on free trial, go to access control. I am and click on add role management. Click on contribute, find contributor. There it is. Go to members, select member, connect, and this box type app-grp. Oh, we use Terraform. Okay. Yes, here it is. Select, review plus assign. It is can a job function role with less access can be used instead? Okay. So what it is saying, you see here, this is again a kind of check here, check and balance. So it's asking us, it's a very high privilege access. Can a job function role with less access be used instead? So it's asking us to consider a role access with less privileges. For now, contributor is good for us. So review plus assign, and it's adding role assignment. Okay, it's added. So the first step was to create an identity in Azure Active Directory. And then the next step is to ensure that we give it the right permission. And this can be done via role-based access control. Now, let's go back onto our Terraform configuration file. Now we need to create a resource block for creating a resource group. Right, so let's create a resource block. Azure resource group. Name. So So to create a resource group, we have to mention what is the name of the resource group and what is the location of the resource group. So when you are using a Visual Studio Code, it actually helps you to build the configuration file. Since you have installed the Terraform extensions, so it will give you the name of app grp. So name is equal to app grp. Operation is equal to North Europe. Okay. So I'll just mention this as North Europe, and the name you give here is app grp. So this name is not same as this name because this app grp is the name of this block, right? The name which you mentioned here is the name of this block, and the name which you mentioned over here is the name of the resource group which it will create on Azure portal. So these are two different things altogether. Mandate. Okay, so now we are almost done here. And yes, one more important thing. So this name, right? This name along with this block name is going to help to identify this entire resource within this configuration file. So we have a very small configuration file as of now, but in live environment and production environment, you will have very large configuration file. So it will be very tough to find a resource. So then this will help you. So uh, this complete thing becomes a resource identifier, right? So this will help you to find a particular resource in the configuration file. So sometimes you need to refer onto a previous resource or another resource in the configuration file. So you can do that by using the resource type dot resource name. So you can refer to another resource. Right. So we will be seeing an example, obviously, of this in subsequent chapters. So here we have now completed the definition of our first Terraform configuration file. Now, we have to do those workflow steps to start deploying our configuration file in Visual Studio Code itself. So you can go to the terminal, you can create a new terminal. So here on top, you can actually see your code file, and here you can start now executing your commands. So I'm currently in the, let's see which folder I am. Okay. My SHR folder. Let's see. Terraform, Python, help. Uh, Sorry, there was typo. Maybe let's type version instead of help. Okay. So now let me clear the screen, and we need to perform in the Terraform init command. Terraform init. Okay, this directory has, okay, we are in the MySHR. So Now we have saved our Terraform file over here. So let's run the command here again, Terraform init. Now it's initializing the backend. So this will actually be used to initialize our working directory. Now, what this is going to do is I'm going to download the Terraform provider when it comes onto Azure RM. You can see the version number and you can see it's installing the Azure RM provider. These modules, so this is required now in my current directory. If I do a directory listing, s- let me show you. So now we can see that in addition to our main.terraform file, we do have a new directory in place. We do have another log file also in place. So now the particular folder is being maintained by Terraform, right? So this log folder. So now the first step is to issue the Terraform init command. This will actually download the provider, and the next step so will be uh, we will run the subsequent steps, which is commands, which is plan command. So now Terraform will now create a plan and unclosed configuration block. It has given us an error. Let's run the plan again. So Terraform will now create a plan and it ran successfully based on what you have mentioned in the configuration file. So here the plan would be to create an Azure resource group with the name of app.grp. Here I can mention to give a name for the plan file. If I show you what I can do as well, out main dot to your plan. So this can be done by the out parameter for the Terraform command, and it's done. So now Terraform is actually going to contact Azure and it's going to go on our Azure subscription using this application object which we created and we have specified earlier. So now it's going to create a plan and it's going to check as where what's currently there, and it's first going to go there and it's going to check whether a resource group with the same name is already created or not. If it already exists, it will show us an error, and if it does not, then it will say it's going to create one resource. Now let's run Terraform apply. There's some mistake, typo. Sorry for that. Terraform apply. My bad again. Typo. Really sorry for that. This time it's correct. Okay. So now it will go ahead, contact the Azure portal, and it will actually create the resource. Let's go to Azure portal now. It's not here. Let's run the Terraform plan again. Let's debug it. It's good. We are also getting the opportunity to debug code. So my bad. Actually, I have mentioned provided Azure RM twice. So somehow I copied it twice. That's why we were getting this issue. Now we are good here. Okay. We should not get this error anymore. Let's initialize it once again. Although it's not required, you do not need to do it every time, but let's do it. Now, let's plan it now. You need to repeat this step. We, let's see if it throws any error or it runs successfully this time. Taking time, it's connecting with Azure portal, checking the credentials, authentication, and everything. And it's also checking the resource if it is already created or not. So it performs many steps, so it takes some time to verify all the details. And one more thing, we can also run this command without this out parameter, out main.tf.plan, main.tf plan. But what it will do is it will run the plan command. It will show everything, but it will not save it, right? So what we are doing here is we are running this plan command and we are also saving this command to this main.tf plan file. So just to make sure, you know, there is no change. I mean, there's no bug or nothing else. What we are running, we are getting the same. So we are saving it here. So uh, at any point we can go back to this file and we can check what was the plan which we ran. So it's a better and safer option uh, to run plan command with this out parameter. Taking some time. Let me pause this video. I do not want to stretch this video unnecessarily. So once this command runs successfully, or if there's an issue, I will resume this video again and will show you. So Terraform plan command has been executed. So you can see here. So see here, uh, Terraform plan out, and it has been saved in this main.tf plan file. Here, Terraform will perform the following actions. And so plan 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy, because we are going to create one resource group only. So there's nothing to destroy. Okay, and it took many hours to run this plan. So let me show you actually what happened. So when we run this plan, yes, in the background, it starts registering a service on Azure portal. So let me show you. Microsoft.custo. It starts registering the service. And due to some glitch at Microsoft end, this service was stuck at a registering point. I had to wait for hours before I could proceed further with Terraform plan command. So when it showed registered, then I went ahead and ran the command and it worked successfully. So let's go back there. So now we will run Terraform apply command. And before that, let me also show you, we do not have this resource group. If I go to resource group, see, so we do not have a resource group app grp right now. This is the one default resource group created by Azure itself, and we are waiting for app grp resource group. So I have not executed the command yet. So let me go back. Now I'm running this command, Terraform apply. Okay, so it is showing us what it is going to do. Okay, Terraform will perform the following action. Azure resource group, this is the uh, resource type. And as I told you earlier, this is the resource group name. It is telling us it will be created. So resource and this app grp, this is the block name, and this is the resource name, app grp. Our resource group with this name, the highlighted one, with this name will be created in Azure portal. So it is saying, are you sure this is what you want to do? Plan 1 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. So we need to type yes. And let me go there once again. There is nothing as of now over here. So when I say yes, now it will start creating this resource group. It was 1 added, 0 changed, and 0 destroyed. Let's go back to Azure portal and let's see. Yes, it has created this resource group app grp. Right, there is nothing in this group, resource group as of now. See, it's completely empty. There is no resource in this resource group, but it has created this resource group. And it also confirmed here, apply complete, resource 1 added, 0 changed, and 0 destroyed. So we have successfully created a resource group in Azure portal using Terraform. Now, let's say you are working in a test environment wherein you had to test some commands and resources before you actually implement them in production environment, and it worked successfully. Now your employer wants you to destroy them, delete all those resources because uh, they do not want unnecessary charges in test environment, right? The purpose of creating test environment is to test the commands and whatever you are going to implement in production environment. But once that testing is done, those resources are no more required. So you do not need to keep them there. So they want you to destroy. So what you will do, you can go here, delete resource group like we did last time, type the name of the resource group and click delete, right? Like we did last time, and click delete. Okay, but then what if you have created, let's say, hundreds of this, thousands of resources? Then what? So you cannot do it one by one. It will take you hours to delete all those resources. So for that, we have command in Terraform, which is destroy. Terraform destroy. So this command will delete this resource. Let me show you. Let's go back there to resource groups. Still working. Refreshing state. Okay, and before destroying, it is again asking us, this is what this command is going to do. 0 to add, 0 to change, and 1 to destroy. So do you really want to destroy all the resources? So we need to type yes. And yes, it is also telling us there is no undo. Once it is destroyed, you cannot undo this action. So only yes will be accepted to confirm. So when we type yes, now it will destroy the resource and confirm here like it did last time when we created this resource. Destroying. Okay. Still destroying. Let's see. It has destroyed. Oh no, not yet. It is still destroying. And yes, destroy complete. It is now showing us destruction complete after 1 minute 23 seconds. It took unusually long. Normally, it doesn't take this long, 1 minute 23 seconds, but uh, it has finally destroyed this resource. Resource 1 destroyed. So let's see if it has been destroyed on Azure portal. Let's refresh this page. Yes, it's gone. So it has destroyed this resource. So we saw in today's video how to create a resource, and before that how to authenticate and create a connection between your Terraform and Azure portal, because authentication is required before we can create any resource, we can perform any action on Azure portal. So we saw how to create this pipeline, how to authenticate, and then how to create a resource. So in subsequent chapters, we will see more steps. We will create more resources and we will dig deeper into it. So please like, subscribe this channel and press the bell icon so you get the video notification as soon as I upload them. Thank you for watching it. Bye.